Our speaker has been a Toastmaster for 28 years. Cheryl Baker began her journey in Tracy, California, then Las Vegas, Nevada, Birmingham, United Kingdom, Santiago, Chile, and now Northern Virginia. She belongs to four Toastmasters clubs: Winner's Circle, Professionally Speaking, Terrific Trainers of Toastmasters, and Toastmasters Becoming Advanced. And she has competed in all five Toastmasters contests, rising to the district level in Tall Tales, Humorous, and Evaluation contests. Now, in real life, she is an elementary general music teacher in Centerville, Virginia. She holds a bachelor's of fine arts in acting and directing and a master's in music. Her special talents include playing many instruments, speaking in different dialects, singing, and acting. So talented. Cheryl is a regular trainer for District 29 at Toastmasters Leadership Institute, and she's the lead trainer for the ongoing From Speaker to Trainer program in District 29. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Cheryl Baker with her presentation, Growing a Tall Tale. Welcome.
Growing a tall tale. The definition of a tall tale is a speech of a highly exaggerated, improbable nature and has a theme or a plot. A humor and props may be used, and it's 3 to 5 minutes long. The hardest thing about a tall tales contest is that most of our speeches are 5 to 7 minutes long. Some of the very best tall tales went over time because they forgot that it was not 7 minutes long. So please make sure if you're going to compete in this contest, you practice with the 3 to 5 minutes. 3 minutes goes really fast. That's even shorter than a icebreaker speech. So what's on the ballot? You need to have a good organization. You need an opening, body, climax, and a conclusion. So that is something that's not in any of the other speech contests, is a climax. It needs to build to something and then get resolved. And it says, or it suggests that the opening must engage the audience immediately. So if you don't feel like it's really grabbing your attention, then you've lost the audience. And that's really what you want to make sure that you do. As in a good speech, you always want to grab the audience in your opening. But in a tall tale, you actually want them to laugh pretty quick, like a humorous speech. Now, in a tall tale, when you're writing it, you want to use some speech techniques such as exaggeration, irony, puns and humor, surprises, and of course, a twist. In fact, sometimes in the definition of a tall tale, it says it should have a twist. And a twist is like in any good mystery, it should have something that surprises you that wasn't, you couldn't figure out that it was going to happen, and it made you smile and laugh. That's the hardest thing, one of the hardest things to come up with in a tall tale is like, well, how do I twist it so that people don't know that I'm really going to say this or the other thing? I wrote a speech a few years ago. We don't do tall tales in my district. I'm very sad. I tried to get them to do it. They did it only once. And I gave this presentation to them to teach them how to do it. And they sort of got it, but they didn't ever want to do it again. So it was sad for me, sad for them. But I did one about, and the twist was a play on words. It was Smithsonian was the part of the twist, and it was supposed to be the Smithsonian. And it was like, oh, and then people got it. It was not a very good speech. It didn't win, but it was fun to write. And I had great costumes. So your appearance, you should reinforce that also with a costume or makeup, hairstyling, and props. This is the only one that you really get to go crazy with. I know I've seen some humorous speeches also have some costumes and makeup and do crazy things. There was this one gal who did I think it was a tall tale. She took her teeth out. She had false teeth. She took her teeth out. She did the whole speech with no teeth in. I was like, that is brave. That is very brave. So, and she won. So that was really good. So you want to make sure that you're looking for, something that's going to be catchy, something that won't get in your way, but also will enhance your speech. So, for example, there was one guy who was very famous in Las Vegas who gave a speech. It was written around cigarette names, and he wore a page's outfit with a page hairdo, with a wig. He brought a guitar that was highly out of tune, and it was hilarious. There was another gal who made a speech about her invisible half dog, and she was dressed as a little country bumpkin with little freckles, and her hair was all up in pigtails. Very, very effective. There was another one that was talking about down on the ranch, and he had these cows that got somehow transported up to that place in it's a Devil's Tower or whatever that's called, and they got sent down. They had to be airlifted down because they got in the wrong place. And he dressed as a cowboy because, of course, he was playing with cows. So those are kind of things that work very well in a tall tale. And body language is really, really important. Now, in Las Vegas, when I was there, we got to always do all of our contests in person. But since COVID has happened over here in Northern Virginia, all of our contests after COVID hit have been online, which is very boring because you don't get to see any people's faces and you can't hear them laughing. And that's really horrible. And you only have this little tiny box to play with, and that's not very fun. And you can't really walk around. You can't really do any staging with it. But once you get in person, and I hope that yours is going to be, yes, hopefully, then you need to have gestures, and you have to have expressions with your face, and your body should be talking, because if it's not talking, then the audience is not engaged. So those gestures really need to be honed and practiced so that they make sure that they're helping you tell the tale and not detracting from their or distracting. But you've seen bad speeches where they just walk across and walk across. You never know why they're going there. You really have to think about what we call in the theater world blocking, moving here for a purpose, standing here. We're talking about this here, so that you can refer back to where you were talking about in the later part of your speech. Vocal variety is very, very important. You need to be interesting. You need to make your voice go high or make it go low, especially if you want to have people have some sort of a character. Now, you don't have to be perfect. Like I am really good at figuring out accents because I was always the character actress when I was on stage. So it was like, oh, now you're somebody from Sweden. You need a Swedish accent. Oh, now you're somebody from the United Kingdom and you have to speak like a Cockney. Okay, now you're a high British and you're going to speak like the BBC English. And I had to figure those all out. But if you don't have that talent, which most people don't, then you can just change your voice somewhat. It's like you're telling a story to a child and you're changing your voice a little bit for all the different characters. My family used to read to me all the time, and my grandmother was perfect at being all the characters and putting a different voice for it. So you could easily change your voice just slightly, and then you've got your character voice. You can change the speed, or in music we call it the tempo, of your speech as you're building to the climax, as you're talking about this wonderful adventure that you're possibly having, and that things are getting speeded up and things are going wrong, and oh my God, I don't know, and then you have to go faster and faster and faster, and poosh, it's all taken care of. So that's a way to change the speed, because it also helps and build the drama in your speech. And of course, your volume. You need to be loud enough to be heard across the room. On Zoom, we get to be tiny and very polite with our voices. But in a real room, you need to have volume. And that comes from the bottom. And I'll move back a little bit. Here's my body. And down here is this wonderful thing called a diaphragm that separates your lungs from your all the rest of your organs down here. And when you breathe down, that diaphragm goes down, and that fills your lungs with air, and that gives you the power to be loud enough to be heard in a live audience. And of course, diction is incredibly important. If you are a person who is a second language English speaker, your diction even has to be better because we're training, we're trying to figure out what you're talking about and what you're saying, and figure out based on your accent what you actually said. I am married to a man from India, and when I first met him, we had a lot of conversations about how things should be pronounced. He got tired of it after a while and said, "Did you figure out what I was saying?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Then shut up about it." So I did. But cucumber was one of those ones that in India, he spoke British English. In America, we speak American English. So it was cucumber or cucumber, or aluminium or aluminum, or many different things. And so you've got to be careful that you know the vocabulary as well as your diction is very, very clean. But you don't want to get, I mean, and if the character is supposed to have bad diction, then that's what you should do. You know, if you got some person from down home, wherever, "Yeah, I'm just a country hick and I just really got to be able to talk like this," then that's how you do it, because you're just going to run it in together and make it happen. Or if you're a very important person and you're playing a very studious lawyer, then they're definitely not going to talk like that. They're going to be very precise. So good diction, that's putting all the T's and the D's and making your vowels be wonderful. Oh, I forgot to tell you all, if you do have a question, you are absolutely have my permission to raise your hand and say, Cheryl, I'm a teacher, so it's like, "Miss Baker, Cheryl, could I please ask a question?" You're totally able to do that. You will not mess me up. I will not lose my place. I am happy to answer any questions you come, but we will also have some time at the end. So write it down if you don't get a chance, because I'll just keep going. So interesting language. You have to promote clear understanding and have that language fit the occasion precisely. So there's a little bit of wordsmithing. Do you guys know that word in your club, wordsmithing? You've got to do that to your speech to make it just so. And I don't know how you all do with your memorizing, but sometimes in these kind of speeches, like the tall tales, you really got to write it down word for word and memorize it word for word so that you really understand exactly what you want to portray, what you want to say, and how you want to say it. It really helps. And then practice like crazy with as many places as you can. So interesting language. Now, are you ready to see a tall tale that was a successful one? Yes. This is my strip trip. This is at my division level, which I won and went to district with. And anyway, it's going to be pretty fun. I want you to listen to and watch the different characters that I use, how I move my body, anything else interesting that happens. You're going to see me using some props and figure out what those are. And listen for the laughter, because this track, actually, you can hear the laughter and how I deal with how they're laughing and how I'm moving and walking, or how I'm talking. So sit back, relax. It's 3 to 5 minutes and it's really fun. I think I can't mute myself, but I've already shared my sound. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. Here we go.
Cheryl Baker, strip, trip, strip, trip, Cheryl Baker.
It was a dark and stormy night. No, wait, it was a bright and sunny day. Well, if you really want to know the truth about the matter, it was a cold and rainy day in the middle of of January in Las Vegas. But Mr. Toastmaster, fellow storm chasers, I had made a New Year's resolution to walk every day. Now, in Las Vegas, one does not go for a walk when it's raining, especially when it's raining heavily. It's not safe. You could be washed away. And yet, my resolution. I decided I didn't care if it was raining cats and dogs, I was going to go for my walk. I got on my gear and I headed out the door. No sooner had I taken my first step off the curb when I felt my feet fly out from underneath me, and I fell plop right into a puddle. I tried to get up, but I couldn't, and to my horror, I felt myself being carried down the street and picking up speed. I started grabbing at things whizzing by, street signs, lampposts, stray dogs and cats. Ow! Nothing would stop my path. I got dumped right into the Las Vegas wash, and I thought, oh no, I'm in trouble now. I realized at that point that the dog and the cat were not helping my buoyancy any, so I let them go. A door floated by, and I scrambled aboard. Overhead, I heard a helicopter. And I waved my arms frantically to get their attention. But all I heard was Celine Dion singing, "My heart will go on." No, this is not happening. I was finally dumped right out into this strip, down through Caesar's Palace, and through the Forum Shop. And then I heard him. I saw him. Dun, 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 dun. Shark fins! From the Mandalay Bay, the sharks has gotten loose. In fact, one of those sharks popped his head over my door and said, "Hello, love. Would you care for a game of poker?" To which I replied, "I don't play poker." Hey, he says, "That's okay, love. You can learn as you go." Now, you know this shark was not just any normal kind of shark. No, he was a card shark. From the high limit room. I cried, "I don't have any more money. I'm just a musician." Needless to say, they were pretty steamed, as were the clams they were having for dinner. They called for reinforcements from the Mirage, the white tigers. One tiger who drives up in his big black limousine. He opens the door, and he said, "Get in," which I did. Now the tiger, whose name was Don the Tooth, says to me, "Hey, we're gonna take you for a ride." And we headed down the strip. Suddenly the Don turns to me and he says, "Hey, do not you sleep with the fishes." And he pushed me out the door, right into the arms of a gondolier singing, "Oh, sole bambino, ciao, ciao, bambino, 3 pounds per kilo, sarà, sarà." Hey, what's the matter for you? You want to ride or what? Which I replied, "Please, sir, just take me away from the Donna. I just want to go home." And in my best Star Trek-y voice, I said, "Beam me up, Scotty." At that point, I heard a crack over my head. And an ethereal voice that said, "She's breaking up, Captain. I don't know if I can hold her together." At that moment, I felt myself being transported up into a shuttle from the Star Trek experience. "Scotty, beam me home. I just want to go home." "No problem, lassie. Just give me your coordinates. I'll send you right home." Oh, a few moments later, I felt myself being beamed right to my front door. Oh, I was glad to be back in my own front door. Viva Las Vegas! Oh, this experience has got me all shook up. Oh, yeah, I'm all shook up. Oh, thank you very much.
All right. That was the funnest speech to write. It actually wrote itself in about 30 minutes. I sat down, I said, "Okay, I'm going to write one of these things, darn it." And it was so fun, and it just kept on rolling. And the people in the audience, they're so, well, I think Dr. Sherry, you were talking about our dear friend who was in Las Vegas that you met at the convention, past this international director and his wife.
Jesse
Yeah,
Oakley and Dana Oakley.
and Dana was in the audience that day, and she said she just about peed her pants.
That's
And
awesome.
she said, oh my, she joined Toastmasters right after that because she thought, well, that lady can do it. I want to do that too. So she told me that about that for a little bit. All right, so raise your hand or use the reaction buttons if you want to, and tell me, what did you see? What did you hear? Don't take it away from everybody else, because some of them will say one thing or at least a couple of things that you saw or you noticed to make this be so fun. I'm just going to say, Peter, I loved your reactions to the speech. It's like some of those things are just like, of course they are. That's what it had to be there. That was really fun to watch your reactions. So, what did you notice? Go ahead, Dr. Sherry.
Thank you, Toastmaster Cheryl. That was super fun. I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed that you used comedy, humor, that you used props and music, and the way you used words to have a double meaning, double entendre. And I don't want to say every single thing, but it was very enjoyable. Thank you for that.
Good. Yep. Good. You're really catching a lot of things. All right, Peter, what else did you notice?
One of the things I noticed was the speed to humor, right? So just consistently getting in the jokes or getting in the punchlines, and continuously using those punchlines to guide the next portion of your story.
All right, yeah. And if you've ever been to Vegas, which many people have not, but I lived in the western part of Las Vegas, which immediately flows down to the Strip. So it was helping me remember the speech because I knew when's going to go by, what I was going to go through, what casinos were over there, and how they connected to each other. So that was really easy. And of course, Celine Dion was singing at that time, and she was flying in on her helicopter to her casino, which was hilarious for the people in Las Vegas. Who knew? Yeah. All right. Vocal Jim.
It was curious. Sometimes we think of 3 to 5 minutes being a disadvantage. I think you actually used it to an advantage in that you gave us probably 5 minutes. I didn't time it. Out of a fire hose. The energy level and the pace was so fast and powerful that we almost never got to breathe, and that was a good thing. I think if it had been a 7-minute speech, we would have gotten tired by the end. But the energy level kept us going the whole way.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Dr. Sunny.
I loved your characters, your dialects, your playing with your voice and engaging us, and just your body language. I think it's already been mentioned, but made me laugh, and all your props that added to it. Didn't detract, it added to it. I loved how you threw your cat and dog away, and even to the very end, you still had us. So from beginning to end, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was the first time I actually went shopping in Vegas for things that were Elvis Presley related. And that's where I found the mutton chop glasses. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so perfect. I have to get this. That was really, really fun. All right, Mr. Brock, I saw your hand slide up. If you'll unmute though.
Yeah, thank you for all the instructions and the example, of course. What resonated with me is that's because of my personal interest is the opera aria that you sung. Like, was it? So, a question for you: was it Mio Bambino Caro by Puccini?
It came from a play called Scapino, which I was in high school. And they had that part of there, yeah. But it could have been Puccini.
It sounded to me, okay, now I have to go back and look at my favorite songs from a few operas, but it was the right before the climax for me. Climax may be a little different for everybody. So it was just bumped it up. So I was just really, my muscles are just turning loose and my mind was just laughing. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right, Harriet.
I think Barack stole my answer. I was gonna say
Oh
this.
no.
Yeah, so it's good. That was my climax as well, and I love that. It's like very well done. You're good. You're definitely very funny.
I try. Of course, I've been entertaining little children, so if you're willing to play and go to the end of the whatever it takes, then people laugh all the time. And if you surprise them, then they're like, "Oh my God, this is so hilarious!" Ah. All right, Randy, what did you notice?
What I notice is I think the most important thing is that you just had fun from the beginning to the end, and that's contagious. As long as you're having fun with your speech, you can do anything. And you did a lot of great things, but you had fun doing it. You were enjoying yourself, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys a secret. I watched this last night as I was getting prepared for today, and I was laughing at it and going, "Oh my God, I'm so funny." I still
And,
laugh at
and,
this speech.
and Cheryl, don't you love it when your audience loves you too? Because
Absolutely.
they had
Yeah.
fun with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had so much fun doing that. And every time I watch myself, I'm like, wow, that is so good. I haven't topped it yet, but that's what I hope to do it one more time before I die. All right, really good. So you guys pretty much caught most of the things. We had alliteration, we had exaggeration in there, a little bit of double entendre. We had some stupidness. Puns are okay in a tall tale as long as you don't pun you to death. And like the card shark, it wasn't just any card, a shark, it was a card shark. I mean, that's just, well, duh, of course it would be there, right? All right, so let's see if this will go on without turning itself on again. There you go. All right, so the first thing that you need to do as you're starting to write is define your character. Who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? Do you have a funny walk? Do you wear funny clothes? Are you weird? How weird are you? And the braver you are, the better your character will be. If you are shy, Tall Tales is not for you unless you really like to get out of your comfort zone. And then maybe that's it. There was a guy who was from Great Britain and he had a great accent and he was a pit boss down in Las Vegas. And he had the most driest humor. And I made him do a humorous speech that was so out of character. He was pretending he was in his gym and he was physical. And people were like, "You usually just talk and make our brains laugh." But then he was being physical and it just totally blew everybody out of the water. So his character was a goofy little guy, wimpy guy from the gym. And it was not who he normally was. And so that was really, really, really fun. And if people know you, if you compete all the time, then if you want to change your totally, this is what I normally be like when I'm so, giving a speech, and then change it up so that they're not expecting what you're going to do or some crazy thing. Then you need to create a problem, something that it can be solved. So, so let's say that you are an elementary music teacher, and the problem is you've got a bunch of kids who are going crazy, running around the room, playing the instruments, doing all these crazy things. What are you going to do to make them stop? Who knows what? And you're probably going to come up with something, or you have to set the scene. So there you go, a classroom in a school. And how do you feel about your problem? I hate it. I wish they would all go away. Please be absent that day. Whatever. You could say crazy things about them because they're not real people otherwise. And so then you want to describe the problem. How do you feel about it? Take an attitude about it. This is the same thing as what you would do in a humorous speech because you want to have that, that angry comic or the oh woe is me, it always happens to me, those kinds of things. So how do you feel about it? Then how are you going to solve your problem? So you've got to come up with some sort of a solution. And working on a guru might be helpful. Working on a strange person who's going to materialize into that classroom unexpectedly. Maybe it's going to be somebody who, comes through the window and crawls in. That would be strange. You would never see that at an elementary school. And you want to be something shocking and very interesting that will also then help solve the problem. If you've got a bunch of crazy kids running around playing all the instruments, you certainly need to get their attention, right? Okay, so then you've got your problem, you've got your solution, you've got maybe somebody who's going to come in and help you, and then you're going to have two heads are better than one. There's always a proverb. So you want to write the story, weaving your character, your mood, your setting, your introduction of the problem. And then at this point, it can be sort of reasonable. It could be, I've had people do tall tales about the lost sock from the dryer and where it went. But that would be a funny tall tale. And because you want to be kind of reasonable, but not very reasonable. I mean, the standard one is I caught a fish this big, but he got away. Dang. Or other things. It was an alien from Area 51 or something like that. All right, so then you want to exaggerate everything. You could write out a normal, everyday story, even a regular speech, and then you throw out anything that looks really reasonable and replace it with something crazy. And there's your tall tale. And then make it 3 to 5 minutes long so you don't go over time and lose. So you want to exaggerate everything. If it's normally only an inch long, it's 5 feet long. If it's only, you're only 4'2", and in this one you're going to be 7'5". I don't know. So whatever, be anything crazy. And a good way to do that is to brainstorm to reveal some details, because you could just have, like that little circle thing, and then here's something that could happen, here's something that could happen, here's something that could happen. You've got all your brainstorm ideas, and then to go, okay, well, and then this is going to happen number 1, this is going to happen number 2, I don't like that one, let me put this different thing in there. Anything's possible in a brainstorm session. So you got some ideas of what would happen, what kinds of things. I mean, I went with mine was things that went to the casino. And the funny part is that the forum shops really do flood. So it would not be unusual to actually have water going down there. I just had sharks in it, which would be unusual. All right. And then you want to work to your strengths. If you're a funny person already, then that's your strength. If you're not funny, you could be deadpan and be hilarious. If you are very, very shy, you could work that into be a strength. When you read a story for your kids at home, or your grandchildren, or your nephews and nieces, and you can do all the character voices, those are the character voices you want to have. I went with things that I could do, because I could do the crazy shark voice, which, I could do the Don voice. I could do Scotty because I knew how to do the Irish accent a bit, and I was like, well, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. All right, what else can I do? And that really worked to my strengths, but not everybody's got those under their chops. How brave are you? And I put those in big letters because you really have to be brave. The lady who did her whole speech without her real teeth in, that's pretty brave. That's pretty brave. I don't know if I would be that brave, but I'm pretty brave. And if you're ready to be outlandish, then that works really, really good. Okay. Now, other things that you need to add, which you did see from mine, is exaggeration, which we've already said, humor, of course, improbable elements. If it sounds too reasonable, it needs to get kicked out. A plot twist. What was my plot twist? I became Elvis. Nobody saw that coming, and they didn't know I had glasses in my pocket. A pun, not a normal shark. He was a card shark. That was the pun. And you can get even bad. Dad jokes, this would be perfect in there. Randy, did you have a question? Or is that left over from before? Okay. Sanjita, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, the only thing I wanted to ask was I didn't see it. I loved your speech, but normally they say give time for the audience to laugh and have pauses. I didn't see those. Was that intended?
I did wait because I do know how to work an audience. There's a thing that when you're listening to people laugh, it's a wave. So it's and then when they're starting to crest, that's when you can go in again. And you don't want to wait too long, especially if you have something else that might make that wave even build to the next crest. So you want to keep it going, but you got to listen to the audience. You probably couldn't hear them as well because they weren't mic'd, and I was, but they did. I did wait for the laughter, because if you don't, here's the thing: if you don't wait for the laughter to die down a tiny bit, they'll stop laughing because they want to hear what you're saying. And
Got
so
it.
you
Yes.
don't want them to stop laughing. You want them to keep laughing, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Agree. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, good question. I'm glad you asked that. Great. Slapstick works really good. There was a guy who did his tall tale, and he took his wife's purse out and he put the makeup on without looking in a mirror. It was pretty funny. He did not make it onto his lips, let me tell you. That was hilarious. And double entendres, things that you say one thing, but they mean a different thing. And if I would not necessarily go into blue humor because most people don't like that in Toastmasters. So keep it clean, but risque, maybe. All right, so here's some other required elements. Sarcasm, and I gave myself some suggestions so that I would remember what to say. So sarcasm, so mock somebody, ridicule yourself, or express contempt. Oh yes, you've been so helpful. Alliteration, words that begin with the same sound. We used to have a contest going. How many words can you say in a row that have the same first letter? So Philip's feet, dangerous demon dogs, that's the alliteration. Irony, two contrasting meanings of the same situation, event, image, sentence, or phrase, or story. This is from a song. A free ride when you've already paid, that's a little bit, it's ironic. Isn't it ironic, right? Onomatopoeia is words that sound, or the pronunciation actually imitates the sound that they describe, like woof, bang, hiss, purr, pitter patter. So those kinds of things help get your brain engaged and your imagination, and they put the audience right into your story and into your stuff that you're talking about. All right, here's my crazy costumes. This is from my one that I was telling you about, the Smithsonian. I was the woman in black, and I told everybody to forget it at the end. And that was unfortunate because they forgot to vote for me. And then here's another crazy costume that would be easy to put on. This one, I actually had to raid my husband's suits and do that all together and get some good stuff. Add a prop or two, don't use too many. Unfortunately, if you have a whole bunch of them, they just become a problem, and they backfire on you. At my speech at district level, first of all, the Toastmaster said my name of my speech incorrectly, which threw me for a loop. And then when I went for my dog and cat, my glasses fell out of my pocket just onto the floor. And I went, great, perfect. But then I realized that nobody except for the front people in the front row could see them. So when I needed them, I just picked them up and put them on. But anyway, things happen if you have too many props and they don't work the way you want them. Use it in multiple ways. For example, if you had a stool that you were sitting on. Somebody did a tall tale, they became a cat. And they had a big table on there and they sat right on the table and became a cat. So, but if you could change the table into something else, then you could use that as a double thing. So it's a table this time and then it's a shield another time, or, who knows what you could make it into. Decide the logistics of dealing with the problem. As in any speech, how do you reveal it? How do you want it to be hidden? Do you want everybody to see it all the time? Is it coming out of a pocket? Is it sitting on a chair and hidden by a black cloth? How does it work? And how do you handle that? And that makes it so it's fun and it's exciting and it's a surprise when it comes out, rather than It's like, oh, and that's a piece of paper. Okay, great. And then what kind of topics work? Unbelievable adventures. Unbelievable adventures. You could start with a vacation of yours, which was quite credible. People go on vacation, and then you just blow it up from there. So that vacation was crazy. Improbable explanations of why things are the way they are. There was a gal who did a tall tale. She had a deformity in her little fingers, and the top part of her little finger turned in like this on both sides, like that. And so she made this whole speech about why they were like that. And that was the connecting thing. But that's not how it happened. And then she had some more adventures. They were hanging her by her little fingers. But that's not how it happened. And it kept on going. It was great. Funny, funny, funny. Ham it up. Be unconventional. Be shockingly different than your normal self. I already said that about our friend from Great Britain. And develop your comic timing. Now, the best way is that to develop your comic timing is to speak in front of audiences and see if you could be funny. Some people say I'm never funny, and then that makes people laugh. So then clearly you can be funny. But comic timing happens when you listen to the audience and you know exactly when to keep going and when to pause. A nonverbal movement or gesture or facial expression can enhance a laugh that's already rolling. If you say something and everybody's laughing and you're going, that could make them go more. And it's a nonverbal, and everybody's afraid of that. And if you do that in Toastmasters, people are all like, oh, she's really good. Know how to do that. So that's a really good thing. All right. What doesn't work? Don't be safe. Don't be gross. Don't talk about diapers or potty humor. Don't be believable. Don't make it locally humorous. Unfortunately, my speech that I did strip trip, I went to California for district. They don't know anything about what happens in Las Vegas, except for they've maybe been there once or twice. They don't know that if you walk in the water, you could get actually washed away. So when I said it there, they went, it didn't fly, which is why I didn't get first place. A twist of, and then I woke up. Boring. Think of something else. You can do it, but it's boring. Continuing your speech while audience laugh. We've already talked about that. You can get away with the I woke up and then I woke up, but you've got to be really amazing if people are going to buy that. If people have done tall tales a lot, they're going to go, yeah, fine. You just gave up. You didn't know what else to say. So be more interesting than that. All right. So now it's your turn. How am I doing on time? Hey, pretty good. I can't believe it. That was exactly it. Now go forth and have fun. And here's your part. I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, except for I have this other thing. So you guys have in your chat, if you got that out of there, there is a growing another tall tale form. And it is fillable. Now here's what you can do with this. And this has worked really well in the past. And if you want me to, I can still keep sharing that thing. Let me see if I can pull it up on the correct screen. I've got 3 screens here. I just love doing all this stuff. Here's the thing. There we go. And you don't need any sound. So here is a little bit of all the things that I've said. So aren't you lucky you didn't have to write them all down? And then here is a way for you to write a tall tale right now. Are you ready? This is a silly thing that I came up with, but it ends up pretty funny. You, of course, can change anything that you want to do. So in the blue spots, you're going to go one day and you're going to say, where did you go? I did this. I went here. When suddenly something crazy happened. I was so shocked that, I fell off my chair, whatever you say. So I did something. But then I did something and then this happened. I couldn't believe it. So I got up my courage and did something else. And I met some person who offered some help. She said something which was hopefully helpful, and maybe not. And then we discussed our options, decided our best course of action was to do X, Y, or Z, do something outrageous. After all, and then use some silly proverb, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. And when we realized that what we had done didn't help, we put our heads together. And then what did we do? And then to figure out a solution, because, oh, two heads are better than one. See, I used it twice. I'm bad. Finally, we decided to go someplace else and do something else outrageous. And we finally solved our problems, and then some kind of a finish with a twist. Now, you're not going to be able to get all of that done in 3 to 5 minutes or something like that, but you could get a good start and you could go as far as you can. So if you want to try that, there is another way to structure it, which I gave it another way. This is just an opening, especially if you don't like my crazy story that I came up with, and then tell the story and just give a couple of points. So all you need is like a couple of bullet points about what happened and how you're going to solve it. And the conclusion, you wrap it up by solving the problem in an unusual way, somehow with a twist, if you can come up with it. And I know that you're all very creative people and you could probably figure it out. So do we have Madam Toastmaster 5 minutes for them to play? Okay, so I'm going to put it on my timer on my phone. Or do we have a timer? Timer, can you give us 5 minutes? I forgot we did have one of those. Who is the timer? Do we have a timer? All right, Randy.
Randy.
Unless you want me to time so you can play. You want me to time? I can do it too.
I got it. You want 5 minutes of green?
Yeah, 5 minutes to green. And when you get green, whoever's got the farthest along or wants to try, go for it. We're this is a no problems zone. We're going to be helpful and supportive and not super critical because we just came up in 5 minutes. All right, go. I'm stopping talking.
If you're intending to be heard, you're on mute.
Couldn't find the buttons. They went in hiding. That was crazy. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. I hope you don't need that anymore. But if you do, I can pop it back up there. All right, who's got at least a piece of one? Wants to try it? Come on, brave people. You can do it.
I can go second.
You could go second. All right, we need a brave person to go first.
I will be brave. I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll be laughed at first.
Okay.
Ready?
We're ready. Go for it.
I was standing at the train station, not a train in sight, which was good because A, I don't know where I was going, and B, I had really no clue whatsoever as to how I got there into that train station. I was just there, alone in this cold, empty train station. Empty? Was it really empty? I saw a shadow moving in the corner. Hello? Hello? Is there someone there? Indeed, there was someone there. Now, everyone here is afraid of rogue circus clowns, right? Well, there, standing right in front of me was, well, it wasn't a clown, just a talking alligator. A talking alligator, you say? Yes, a talking alligator. I know it was an alligator because of the pointed snout and the sharp teeth. And I know he was talking because he was speaking to me. Where are you going, big boy? She said. Ah, I was wrong. This was a female alligator, and apparently a seductive one at that. I answered, I have no idea, but hopefully somewhere other than here. And that's when I realized I was the timer and I had to put the red card up a little bit late. So that's all I got so far.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm all totally enthralled with it. And you're really selling it. So great job. Interesting, surprising, wonderful. There you go. Great, great, great. All right, Dr. Sonny, your turn.
All right, I want to say I was just kidding, but all right. Here I go. Disclaimer. I did ask ChatGPT to write me a little something, and okay. And I asked for like 4 versions because they kept giving me outrageous things. So, okay, here we go. One day I was sitting at my desk, minding my own business, sipping on some iced coffee, when suddenly my computer mouse started glowing a bright neon green. Now, at first, I thought it was just a glitch or some weird update, but then it started wiggling on its own. I was so shocked, I spilled my coffee all over me. Ooh, and it caused it to start playing random sound effects. Sound effects. And I didn't know what to do. So I grabbed the mouse, trying to stop it from playing all these effects. And then it started, my screen flickering, and a mysterious window popped up that said, "Congratulations, you won an all expenses paid trip to your living room." I couldn't believe it. My own computer was trolling me. I got up the courage and I wiped off my sticky blouse and my sticky keyboard and clicked on the claim a prize button. The room instantly transformed. My desk chair became a fancy recliner. My lamp morphed into a disco ball, and my inbox disappeared entirely, which honestly, I wasn't too mad about. I'm going to skip to the end because some weird guy started coming into my room. But I finally decided to turn on the computer's meditation app, sit back in my new recliner, and pretend the disco ball was the sun. And that worked so well to distract us that we decided to turn my entire desk into a mini resort. And I finally did finish my vacation. But when I tried to go back to work, the computer demanded a pina colada before letting me log in. Back to you. I had to skip
Oh,
the part. There was a
wonderful.
guy named Bob, and he came and he started talking about some prize vacation. I didn't even really read it until I read it. Okay,
Yeah.
but that was fun, the thought of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very fun. Very fun.
Okay.
All right. Now, Madam Toastmaster, you need to tell me, do we have time for one more? Or do
Is
you, does
Janet
she have
here today? If Janet is not here, we do have time for one more.
I
Yes.
do not
Oh,
see a Janet. All right. Mr. Jim, I see your hand up.
Boy, 2 minutes to write that. That was a challenge. Here goes. First, I violate rule number one. You need to know. You need to live here to know some of this. Minnehaha Falls in Minneapolis is a tourist attraction. So once you know that, I'll go from there. So one day, I walked to Minnehaha Falls when suddenly I saw ahead that the falls were erupting like a geyser. I was so shocked, I didn't know whether I should run away or run towards it to go see what was happening. So I grabbed a passerby and pushed her in front of me so I could go see what was happening and she would get all the water instead. But when I did, I noticed that she had a controller and she was actually controlling the geyser. I couldn't believe it. So I got up my courage and I grabbed the controller from her to control it myself. Now, when I did, I noticed next to her was her partner, and he offered to help. Why would he offer to help me? He said he hated her anyway because she always screwed up the eruptions. So I told him I wanted to, and he said, sure, I could help you. So we discussed our options, went over a whole plan, and we decided our best course of action was just to throw his partner into the eruption and watch her fly. I mean, after all, everything flies when you're having fun, right? So when we realized that while we got rid of the partner, we hadn't really solved the geyser, but we finally decided to abandon the geyser altogether and somebody else's problem. And we just went and had a beer. So we solved our problem, and now the only problem that remains is that we have to find the partner and fix the controller so that it works on the beer tap.
Random things there. There you go. See, now it doesn't take very long. You do have to practice with it a little bit. And it does get better after you go back there and go, no, wait, no, maybe I should do this or maybe I should do that. So it's super simple. You got to be brave enough to write something like this and just be outrageous. Really just be outrageous. You know, if it looks too calm, you can just say, well, what else can we do to put in there? It's really, really fun. Anybody, I think we still have time. You said you had till well, for me, 9:30, for you, 8:30. Anybody else want to try one?
All
All right,
right.
so Bharat.
Before I speak, oops, 1 second. 1 second. Before I speak, I have a question though for clarification. Character, when you define your character, how do you place it? Can you give us a little bit more specifics? How do you place the character into the context so that the audience, they connect immediately to the context? It could be a time, place, or event, and then they follow that through the character.
Right. Well, like I think Randy did it. He had a little conversation about, and also Jim had a conversation about where he was,
Right.
and then had a little description of the like you are probably in the tall tale, and then you're meeting somebody else, and then you could say he was a tall, dark stranger, but he smelled of perfume, which was very strange, or something like that. So you kind of get what he looks like and something strange about him. And then the other part is and then to make some sort of a different vocal thing.
Okay, excellent. And because the form that you shared didn't work for me, so I had to type every word, etc. So I'll have like a paragraph and a half, maybe. I'm starting. We are at the hotel lobby and we're in line to register for the conference. Everything is flowing very well, except until I realize I don't have my passport in my jacket pocket. No problem. Must be in my briefcase. I reach into front flap and suddenly I scream in my head. What? My passport not with me? I am panicking, or should I not panic? We're about 7,000 miles away from home and my passport is not. So that's what I have.
All right. Good. Good start. Now, it does help if you put yourself, speak in first person rather than kind of in like you're talking about yourself. So I would recommend getting in there personally. But yeah, good start. I know that form was just, whatever my craziness. But that was a good way. Good start. All right. Anybody else?
And that's all she wrote.
Okay.